What's going on, everybody? I'm Primalliquid, and I know you are super duper confused right now with the title of this video. We are obviously going to be taking our first ever look into the YS franchise, highly recommended by so many of you. Honestly, I think this is like the most requested game franchise for me to actually look at. Well, things are a little bit different this time. As well as me actually having my first ever look, the lovely folks over at NIS America have actually not only given me a limited edition for the new YS Nordics, however, there is also going to be a giveaway in this video sponsored by them for you lovely viewers. You can learn more about that later. For now though, let's quickly unbox the limited edition, see what goodies we have, and then jump on into the gameplay, shall we? Okay, yes, I am very much well aware of the fact that you are enjoying a little bit of a nutshot right now. Unfortunately, I've had to remove the whole, garage slash set around. As you're all probably already aware from seeing in the first few seconds, it's been a bit of a cluster, so we're doing things a little bit differently. And yes, I'm well aware of the fact I need to completely clean it. So, let's take a look at what we have in here first, shall we? Okay, you know what? Before we go through everything, let's just empty out the package, shall we? Okay, so that's just the bubble wrap in there, so let's go ahead and move the box out of the way. Okay, so straight off the bat, there are two items that are in this box, and I do believe that is the game, so we will take a look at that second. Let's take a look at this package. So this looks to be like a little sling bag. Let's take a look, shall we? So it is indeed a little sling bag. As you can see, it's got the YS Nordics logo on there. Nice embossment, actually. That actually feels like real leather there as well, to be fair, which is quite a nice little touch. We turn it over, we've obviously got the one strap, which we can swap sides for, which is quite nice. We've got a nice little holder on the side. Probably not big enough for a phone, but maybe like a wire or something, like a charging wire or a very small power brick. You could probably fit that in there as well. And then if we actually take a look on the inside, the material is quite stiff though for getting into it, but I imagine that'll be easier with time. Okay, so it opens up pretty much all the way down to the very bottom, and inside there is, you know, quite a bit of space there. It's quite well padded as well, actually. There is definitely quite a lot of padding in there, which is quite nice. So like, you could probably put, you know, like a phone or something like that in there and really not worry about it. It is very well padded. And then on the other side, is that another compartment? No, that's just the stitching. Okay, so yeah, there's no secret hidden compartment in there. Instead, you've just got a typical little carry bag. It is well padded, so you can stick phones, tablets, and so on in there. Not super big, but you could definitely, you know, get enough in there if you're on a little journey, you know, like a little car journey, a couple of snacks. Stuff like that. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual game now, shall we? Once we get through all the layers of bubble wrap. Not going to complain about that though. Better protection is really nice. So many times I've ordered limited editions and they've come broken because of poor packaging. Okay, so we do have the PS5 limited edition for YSX Nordics. We are going to open this up right now and take a look. So let's try and get in there. I don't have the best of luck with these packagings though. Okay, well, turns out I've completely lost my knife. No idea how. I literally had it about 2 seconds before the video started because I did initially open the packaging box. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have inside here, shall we? Nice firm box, in fact really firm. I'm actually struggling to get the cap up right now. There we go. Wow, that's actually really thick. Okay, so what have we got in here? We have quite a few things in here, to be fair. The cardboard is very thick though, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful that I don't actually snap that. Okay, so in the box we obviously get the PS5 edition, deluxe edition for YSX Nordics. So really looking forward to playing that. And remember, you're about to see my first impressions for the game, along with a way to win this yourself. Next up, we have the YS Nordics Book of Horror which is an art book. Yeah, it's an art book. So if we have a quick glance through that, typical, you know, illustrations, character bios, you know, about your bog standard art book really for a limited edition. Just teaches you a little bit more about the characters, the areas, and then obviously you get some really cool concept art. Ooh, some chibi art as well. So yeah, pretty cool. Next up, we have the generic postcards. Well, I say generic, just every limited edition has to include postcards. Let's go ahead and open these up and we can take a quick look through them. So, here's the first one. Not quite sure how well you guys can see them. I know they're really glossy, so with the camera lighting in here, you might struggle a little bit because of the reflection. But I will try my best to make them as visible as possible. But again, they are extremely glossy. And it seems like there's about 6 in here, to be fair. Really hope these aren't upside down for you guys as well. Knowing my luck, they are, and I'm going to have to reshoot this entire thing. Or I suppose I could just, like, flip it in post, maybe. But then you guys won't be able to read any of the freaking text. We should be okay, though. I think I've done enough of these at this point where I know which way the camera is pointing, kinda. Okay, and there's the last one. Alright, so what else do we have? We have the YS Nordics original mini soundtrack. There are 8 tracks on there. We have To Be Free, Those Who Live in the Distant Sea, Heat Hazard, Violent Warriors, Hard-Headed, Rockline, Yesterday's Journey, Tomorrow's Dream, Young Swordsman in the Eyes, and So Much for Today. So there's all the tracks on there. Obviously, that is the front as well. And then, last but not least, I believe we have a pin. Let's go ahead and get this out and have a look at it. When I eventually manage to get in the package. Okay, yeah, we do indeed have a YS Nordics pin. Actually feels really sturdy, to be honest. Like that's not like a little plastic thing, you know what I mean? That feels like really good metal. Yeah, that actually feels like really good metal. I would take it out, but for cool little pieces like this, I actually like to keep them packaged. So I'm going to keep this in the plastic wrap. Obviously, just an extra layer of protection, keeps it all nice and clean and so on and so forth. But I actually really like little stuff like this. Right. Okay, with that said, I think it is time for us to jump into the gameplay. Now, when it comes to the story for YSX Nordics, we're not actually going to talk too much about that in this video for 2 main reasons. The first one being, I'm not actually, like, super far into the game, because I am playing this sort of in my downtime. This is not going to be a YouTube project, this is not going to be a stream project or anything like that. I am playing this strictly in my downtime, just so I can enjoy it, 1, at my own pace, and 2, so I can actually play a game for fun. Something I've not actually done in a very long time. Usually when I play games, I'm playing it for either YouTube or I'm playing it for Twitch. This one is a game just for me to play and have some excitement with. Obviously, other than this one video. Which also means I can't really comment on stuff that happens later in the game because I've not actually reached the, like, end portion of the game just yet. So we're going to keep it, you know, nice, simple, and brief. But then also the other reason for that is going to be because there might be other people out there like me who have never actually experienced this series before. So this could be their first entry to the game, or this video could be their first bit of information about the game and the game series as a whole. So I don't want to ruin anybody's maybe potential excitement for the game by giving away some little story tidbits. So all we're going to talk about story-wise is some very basics of the game and also some stuff that happened sort of within the first hour or so of the game. So
First of all, the story is both a sequel and a prequel. It is based in the YS game series. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if all the games are linked, but at the very least, from what I have been able to find out online, is that this game actually takes place between YS2 and also YS Memories of Salsetta. Now, I don't actually know, what order those games released in. As I say, this is my first ever experience with YS. So it's both a sequel and a prequel. I don't know if the characters are in the other games or anything like that. I've not looked that part up because I want to experience this blind, and if I do really enjoy it, which so far I am doing, I can then go and play the other games as well. But the TLDR is the game basically follows a character called Adol. Now, this is a silent protagonist. You cannot rename him. However, you do get a bunch of options throughout the actual gameplay, like dialogue options, so you can sort of control the narrative a little bit, but so far, I really can't imagine that the choices you make would really affect anything in the grand scheme of things. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe they will, but so far it kind of seems that even though the choices are worded kind of differently in some situations, that they're just gonna lead to the same outcome. But again, that could be entirely wrong. Now, it starts off with you basically on a boat and you get attacked by pirates. Now, when you're attacked by the pirates, one of the characters there is going to be, I'm going to pronounce this just terribly, but Kajita? I honestly, yeah, I'm going to pronounce that horribly. I know I am. But she is basically the other main character in YS Nordics. Now, obviously at the very start, you don't realize that, she's one of the other big characters. It is kind of heavily implied with just what happens, but it doesn't, obviously give her as a character at that point in time. That happens more once you actually get into the town and you do a few little things. But then you're introduced to the sort of the main enemy, known as the Grieger. These are basically monsters that are kind of immortal, and the only way to kill the Grieger is by using mana, something which our character Adol originally couldn't actually use, but there is a way for him to actually get it very early on. Now, one thing I will say as well is, as we've already seen, NIS did give me the limited edition for the game, so I did actually go on and redeem the DLC. I will say I think the DLC was a little too much, maybe, in terms of, like the items you get, but who knows, maybe later on in the grand scheme of things it's going to be absolutely nothing, but at the very start of the game it's a hell of a lot. One thing to note though, and the reason I brought this up in the actual story segment, is it does give you costumes, which does obviously contain some name spoilers for the characters, so do just keep that in mind. But that's all we're going to talk about on the story side, okay? I know that's really vague, but again, I want to keep it nice and simple, just for those who haven't actually played the game, because I am gonna actually give this a strong recommendation to play, because I'm enjoying it, It's a JRPG series that I've never played before. I know, right? Like, it's shocking that there's still a JRPG series out there that I've not played. But yeah, I've never played this before, and this is actually a ton of fun. Now, it is action combat. I don't know if all the other YS games are action or if some of them are turn-based, but this is pure action combat. So think along the lines of Final Fantasy 16, the Tales of games, and so on and so forth. Stuff like that. A really good example, I think, is sort of a mix between Tales of, Final Fantasy 16, and Star Ocean. I know, it's like 3 games that are kind of similar, but also very different. But honestly, that is the easiest way that I can really give a gameplay analysis. In terms of, you're able to run around, you can fight very freely, you've got all your buttons sort of on hotkeys for your special skills, you've got your basic block, your dodge, and of course your regular melee attacks as well. And then you can also group up with your other party members to do combo attacks as well. But again, That's all stuff you sort of basically learn in the first hour of the game. What I will say though is Nis is it's a well, Nis and Falcom in particular, sometimes their games can be hit and miss in terms of playability. What I mean by that is sometimes you'll have frame rate issues, sometimes you'll have the game going a bit sluggish, and so on and so forth. With YS Nordics, that could definitely be a very, very bad thing because of the way the game flows. However, you will be pleased to know I've not actually experienced any of that. Like, I've played the PC version now and the PS5 version. Both versions flowed incredibly well. They were really, really smooth, no issues, which for obviously live action combat is incredibly important. I do think the block button maybe could be a little bit more responsive, but I don't necessarily think that's down to like any kind of bug or anything like that. I think it was just the way it was programmed, you know. It's more on the like of, say, a game like Dark Souls where you press the block button and obviously you need that little bit of time for your character to raise his shield and so on and so forth. It's not once you press the button you are instantly guarding, you know. If you're in an attack animation, you have to wait for that animation to finish before you start the actual blocking, which I'm not a huge fan of. Like, don't get me wrong, that is my personal opinion. I know a lot of people prefer where the blocking is a little bit more realistic, where you have to wait for an attack animation to finish. I don't. I like really, really fast-paced fights. And so I like, you know, like animation cancelling. I like doing that with blocks. So for me, that's a little bit of a downside. But just in general, I don't necessarily think you need animation cancelling using the guard button. And maybe there'll be some kind of skill later on for actually doing that, but I've not found one just yet. But as I say, there's still plenty of the game for me to actually experience. So from a first-timer's perspective to the YS series as a whole, obviously, I don't know what sort of combat the other games have, right? I have no idea what combat the other games have. I don't know if they're turn-based or if they are the same level of action-based combat as YSX. But I also don't have a problem with, you know, like action-style combat. A lot of people know this. I really don't mind action-style games. But it's actually really, really fun, right? Like, it's a nice, smooth, flowing, fun experience. And it also gets... It kind of draws things that I like from other games, and it sort of blends them into a nice mix, okay? So what I mean by that is, if we take a look at, obviously, I've already mentioned Tales of, Star Ocean, FF16... another game series that you could probably liken some of the elements of the game from is the, you know, like Trails of Cold Steel. You've also got some slight actual Atelier things. So anyone who plays the Atelier series, I don't know if maybe this is just me, maybe I'm just drawing parallels that, you know, aren't really there, but to me it seems like there are definitely not nods. It's definitely not nods to Atelier, but in terms of the way, you know, the game flows, like the actual storyline, the maps, the areas, the towns, how you interact with NPCs, I definitely get a very strong Atelier feeling from that, which, in my opinion, is a good thing. You know, I really, really love the Atelier series. So having it's kind of hard to explain, right? Like, having a mix of all these different games that I really, really love, and having a game that seems to maybe not so much draw inspiration from, but also kind of plays a little bit like them, if that makes sense. It's actually giving me a really, really unique experience, and all I want to do is actually play more. But right now, obviously, I'm really limited on time, which really, really sucks. Like, dude, if I played this game a year ago, I would have finished it by now. Like, hands down, I would have played it 12 hours a day, every day, until I finished it. Because it is really, really enjoyable, which isn't really something I say about a lot of new games. So, will I be finishing YSX off? Yes, I absolutely will be, because, I mean, one of my favorite things is just, in general, the humor of the game. It is very much my style of humor. But what about the other YS games? So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to finish YSX off, and then I am going to take a look at the other games in the series, okay? Because if there are games that are like X, and obviously if I like X, if there are games that are massively different to X, then that could also be another interesting outlook at the series. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to finish YSX. Anybody who wants to, you know, like stay updated on my progress, by the way, join the Discord server. I will happily talk about it in there. Or likewise, you know, if we get absolutely tons and tons and tons of people demanding content for YS games, then even though I probably won't make any more for YSX, obviously I've already said I want this to be my own unique experience, which I'm not doing any YouTube for, then we can absolutely do another, you know, like blind playthrough or something like that, or just some videos in general for another game in the series. But for now, though, let's talk about the giveaway, shall we? So, I said at the start of this video that there was going to be a giveaway courtesy of Nis America and Falcom. Well, the items in question, we have 3 of them. That means there are going to be 3 winners for this giveaway. And how do you enter? All you have to do is comment on this video. What is your favorite moment from the YS series? That's literally all you have to do to enter. And then 3 lucky winners will be picked at random. As for the deadline, today is the 26th of November, so it is a Tuesday. This giveaway will run until, let's do the 13th of December. So Friday the 13th, such a lucky day, isn't it, guys? Friday the 13th. We'll run this giveaway until Friday the 13th of December, and then we'll pick 3 winners. What do you win, though? You win this. I know, it kind of looks a little weird, right? This is a large, full-size desk pad. Let's go ahead and take one of them out really, really quickly. I will also put up an image on screen for you guys to actually see, just in case it's not, like, totally obvious on the camera. And speaking of which, the camera's actually froze right now. Lovely. Well, the camera took a bit longer to fix than I was actually expecting, but here it is, a full-size YSX Nordics desk pad. And as I say, we have 3 of these beautiful things to give away. These are full-size desk pads, okay? The quality is amazing. They also have a very grippy surface on the back. These things will not move when they are on a desk, which is absolutely perfect. Now, I know with this camera, it's not the best to get a full-size view of it, so what I'll do, I'll also throw up an image right here, so you guys can see the complete image. So, how do you go ahead and enter for one of these? Well, all you have to do is go ahead and throw a comment down below. Simply comment the favorite part in any YS game. What is your favorite part in any of the YS games? Let us know down below, and we will pick 3 winners at random, and then you can win the lucky desk pad. Now, if you haven't played the YS games, that's perfectly fine, okay? That's perfectly fine. What is one thing about this game that looks really cool to you? Comment that down below, and you can also enter as well. But though, guys, that is going to be it for this video. Good luck to everybody entering in the giveaway. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to go back to play more of it, so I'll see you all later.